Post-war world and India. After World War, what happened in India and world? We will come to know about this from this lesson. The first topic: aftermath of World War II. Aftermath of World War II means after the World Wars, what was happened in the world or in India. So European countries were largely affected by World War II. Means we have learned already during the World War II so much of destruction took place in the world, especially in European countries mostly affected by the World War II. These countries which were lost 20% of its population. European countries lost 20% of their population. USSR and several European countries lost heavily with destruction of cities, factories and mines, etc. Mostly USSR and several other European countries lost heavily with the destruction of cities, factories and mines, villages, etc. Nearly 1700 towns, 31,000 factories, over 70,000 villages in USSR had completely destroyed. Nearly 1700 towns, 31,000 factories and over 70,000 villages in USSR had completely destroyed. But USA suffered less as the war was not fought on its territories. But USA suffered less compared to other countries. Means war was not happened on its territories. USA far from the war, so the industries and agriculture of USA became prosperous. During the World War time, the World War I and World War II also USA was not participated. Wars was not took place on the territories of the USA, and USA also not actively participated in the wars. Due to that, the USA became prosperous in industries as well as agriculture of USA. So this ensured full employment, high productivity in USA during the Second World War. In March 1945, the US President Harry Truman said, "We have emerged from this war the most powerful nation in the world." In March 1945, US President Harry Truman said we have emerged from this war the most powerful nation in the world. There are three results after the Second World War. Establishment of UNO, Cold War, decolonization. Cold War and decolonization. Second World War had fought for the peace, democracy, freedom of nation against to the Nazism and dictatorship and imperialism. Why the Second World War was fought? Because of the Second World War had fought for the peace, because of the peace, democracy, freedom of nations, against to the Nazi ideas of dictatorship, and imperialism. So after the Second World War II, first task was to establishment of international organization. After the Second World War II, the first task to establish the international organization, that is UNO, that ensure peace and human development. So they planned to make international agreement that is ensure peace and human development. During the World Wars, Britain and France had weakened politically and economically. After the Second World War, Britain and France weakened Economically, politically, the Britain come under the second place. USA and USSR emerged as the superpowers after Second World War II. USA was forced Britain and France to dismantle the old colonial system. USA was forced Britain and France to dismantle the old colonial system. USSR as well as USA was also supported decolonization. USSR and also USA supported decolonization. Due to that, after Second World War, there are more than 100 countries got independence. So due to the USSR and USA, they supported decolonization. They forced Britain and France dismantle the old colonial system. Due to that, after the Second World War, more than 100 countries became independent. So this is the first topic we have discussed. Aftermath of the World War II. Then next second topic, United Nations Organization. United Nations Organization headquarters New York. The important allied countries like Britain, France, USA, USSR, China drafted a charter for the formation of UNO. The first initially the important countries like USSR, China, Britain, France, America make a draft of charter for the formation of UNO. The charter not only given importance for the preserve peace and prevent wars, and also worked for human rights, democracy, eradication of poverty in the world. The charter not only gave importance for the world peace and prevent the wars, and also worked for human rights, democracy, eradication of poverty in the world. Two important objects of the UNO: preserve peace and human development. UNO recognized the autonomy of the countries and promised not to interfere in any internal affairs of a country. UNO recognized the autonomy of the other countries and also promised not to interfere in any internal affairs of the countries, but except in case that is serious human right violation, threat to the world peace, then UNO interferes. Except in case that is serious human rights violations or threat to world peace. There are 54 member countries at the time of UNO was established. So at the time UNO was established, there are 54 member countries. The member countries were increased into 193. The important organs of UNO: International Court of Justice, headquartered Hague, Netherlands. International Court of Justice, Hague, Netherlands. World Health Organization, located in Geneva, Switzerland. World Health Organization, located in Geneva, Switzerland. United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, Paris, headquartered Paris in France. United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization, Paris in France. United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, New York in USA. United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, headquartered New York in USA. So General Assembly, Security Council, General Assembly, New York, Security Council, New York in USA. So the elected Secretary General, the main officer of the UNO. Who was the main officer of UNO means Secretary General. The General Assembly is main body. Where regular discussions took place. But important decisions relating to war and peace taken in Security Council. Security Council is the more powerful organ in UNO. The important discussions related to war and peace taken in Security Council. Five nations have special status within it. Five nations have special status within it. These are called permanent members in the Security Council. Five nations have special status within it. These are called permanent member countries in the Security Council, like USSR, China, UK, France, USA. USSR, China, UK, France and USA. These are five are the permanent countries in Security Council. Security Council is a powerful organ in UNO. These five countries have the veto powers. These five countries have veto powers. They can have right. Any country can reject it, the proposal of Security Council. It will not implement it. The UNO commendable works in the field of education, health, cultural exchange, etc. UNO is doing the commendable works in the fields of education, health, cultural exchange, etc. Less successful in preventing wars, but less successful in preventing wars. Wars till it is continuing in between the countries. UNO is trying to better to make peace, but it failed to prevent the wars. So this is about UNO, the important points we have learned. Now I will go to the another topic, that is the two camps and the Cold War. The two camps and the Cold War. After the Second World War II, 1945 to 1991, Cold War was continued. Cold War was continued in between the two groups. So the two camps under the Cold War. After the Second World War, two major ideologies formed into different political camps were emerged. After the Second World War, USA and USSR, two countries were emerged as the strong countries, powerful countries. So these two countries have their different ideologies, political and economic ideologies. So the communist bloc led by USSR, the democratic capitalist bloc led by USA, democratic capitalist bloc led by USA. The USSR promoted communist ideologies, equal and state-controlled development and the suppression of opposition. So what are the communist ideologies? The USA has following the communist ideologies like equality, state-controlled development and suppression of opposition. Those ideologies the USSR was trying to spread in the world. The USA promoted multi-party democratic ideas, private capitalism, controlled process of development. So what are the process of development the USA was implemented? Means multi-party democratic ideas, private capitalist controlled process of development was implemented by the USA. So USSR influenced East European countries such as Poland, Hungary, East Germany, etc. Other countries like China, Vietnam, etc. allied to it. USSR influenced East European countries such as Poland, Hungary, East Germany, etc. Other countries like China, Vietnam were closely allied to it. The Western European countries, so under the USA, UK, France, Spain were closely allied with USA. Western European countries such as the UK, France, Spain were closely allied with USA. The two blocs competed with each other for bringing all the intermediate countries in their blocs. The two blocs competed with each other for bringing all the intermediate countries in their bloc. They want to gather the support from other countries. They competed with each other. They want to dominate the world. So the Cold War, what is a Cold War? It was a war in which the principal contenders not physically attack each other directly, but fought behind closed doors. Directly, war was fought behind closed doors through propaganda and words. It is called as the Cold War. What is a Cold War? It was a war in which the principal contenders not physically attack each other directly. War was fought behind closed doors through propaganda and words. It is called Cold War. But Cold War was not just a propaganda war, it also saw real wars and killed around 20 million people. Most of the people were belongs to third world. Third world means the more than 100 countries got independence, the newly independent countries who were called a third world. But Cold War was not just a propaganda war, it also saw real war and killed Angola and Afghanistan. Some main tactics used during the Cold War, some main tactics means plans, world. So the Cold War, what is a Cold War? Afghanistan, etc. These two countries compete for the colonial domination over Vietnam, Korea, Angola and Afghanistan. Some main tactics used during the Cold War, some main tactics means plans used during the Cold Wars. Included proxy wars, military alliance and arms race. Some main tactics. What are the main plans used during the Cold War? These two groups included proxy war, military alliances and arms race. Proxy war. What is a proxy war? Means here some examples are there through which we can understand clearly what is the proxy war. In 1947, US President Harry Truman given authorized support to anti-communist forces in Turkey and Greece. Proxy war. In 1947, US President Harry Truman given authorized support to anti-communist forces in Turkey and Greece. In 1960, the Belgium colony in Africa, Congo got independence. In 1960, the Belgium colony in Africa, Congo got independence. But in 1961, communist leader Patrice Lumumba was killed by a US spy agency called CIA. In 1960, the Belgium colony in Africa, Congo got independence, but in 1961, communist leader Patrice Lumumba was killed by US spy agency called CIA. This means the America want to corrupt the communism in Congo. In November 1975, Angola became independence from the communist. In November 1975, Angola, one of the countries in Africa, became independence, and the communists in Angola captured power. So Angola got independence from the Portuguese. Later, the communist parties was established government in Angola. So with the help of Cuba and USSR. So Fidel Castro is one of the important leader in communism. Fidel Castro, he was the leader of Latin America. He want to spread the communism in Latin America. 23 countries will come. South American and Central American countries included come under the Latin America. So the important is 23 countries. So Fidel Castro want to spread the communism in Latin America. So So he had led the revolution against America. He had led the revolution against America. He tried to build socialism in Latin America, inspired a large number of people in Latin America countries to fight against the capitalists, inspired by the Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. The many number of people was in Latin America country fight against capitalism. During the communist struggle in Latin America, one of the popular leaders, Che Guevara, was killed by US spy agency CIA. During the communist struggles in Latin America, one of the popular leaders, Che Guevara, was killed by US spy agencies. In Chile also the elected government, communist government leader, Allende, important leader in communism. He sacrificed his life for the democracy. So in Chile, the elected socialist government led by communist leader Allende was killed by US backed army generals, was killed by the US backed army generals. So one group of the country try to curb another ideologies. One ideological group try to curb another spread of the another groups. So this is mostly called as the proxy war, children. So the USSR, some other examples also there. The USSR also tried to expand its influence over the countries. Means one group want to expand its influence over the other groups. So this compete with each other is come under the proxy war. The USSR also tried to expand its influence over the countries. In 1950s, USSR faced the resistance of countries like Germany, Hungary, and Czechoslovakia. In 1950s, USSR faced the resistance of countries. Means the USSR have control over the East European countries, but these countries was resistant. Means they are revolted against the USSR. Then the USSR sent its armies and dismissed the unfriendly governments, and installed friendly governments in those countries. Then USSR sent its armies to dismiss unfriendly governments and install friendly governments in those countries. In 1971, USSR invaded Afghanistan to install a friendly government in Afghanistan. In 1971, USSR invaded Afghanistan to install a friendly government in Afghanistan. So against USSR, America was provide arms to the Taliban. USA provide arms to the Taliban. The Taliban can fight against the USSR. So that took place. The USSR troops was there in Afghanistan. Even the civil war was took place in Afghanistan. At the same time, these Taliban were fight against USSR in the border areas against USSR. Like the country, the group of the countries try to keep their authorities over the other countries. So this is one of the example that USSR against the USSR, the USA provided arms support to Afghanistan rebels. USSR, the rebels, Taliban, who were religious extremists, they fought against USSR in the border places. During the internal war between Afghanistan government and the rebels, finally USSR decided to withdraw their troops from Afghanistan in 1985. During the internal war and also the war between the Afghanistan government and the Taliban, finally USSR decided to withdraw their troops from the Afghanistan in 1985. Afghanistan came under the control. Later, Afghanistan came under the control of Taliban. So Taliban formed the extremist Islamic government in Afghanistan. But after later, due to some religious issues, Taliban turned against the USA. Osama bin Laden, who was the leader of Taliban at the time, due to the religious issues, the Taliban turned against the USA. So now another topic we learn, that is about military alliances. USA also established SEATO, Southeast Asia. The Taliban turned against the USA. So now another topic we learn, that is about military alliances. Both USA and USSR formed military and strategic alliances. The America, means Western countries, formed its organization known as NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. In 1949 it was established under the USA. And USA also established SEATO, Southeast Asian Treaty Organization. USA also established SEATO, Southeast Asian Treaty Organization. It is worked for regional military and strategic alliances. SEATO, Central Treaty Organization. It was established by USA. So USA, like the military alliances was formed, and they try to keep control over the world. So like communist nations also made similar alliances and signed the Warsaw Pact. Warsaw is the capital of Poland. So Poland was one of the supporter of communism. So communist nations made similar alliances and signed the Warsaw Pact. They are also try to keep control over the many countries. They strengthened themselves by creating military blocks. In various places in the world. The alliances helped superpowers to gain access the resources like oil and minerals and markets for their products, and they can get safe investment places, etc. Why the countries they want to keep control over the world? Because of the natural resources, valuable resources, vital resources like oil, minerals and markets, places in the product for their products in the world, and also safe investment places. Launch their troops and weapons in a military bases, spread their ideology, giving economic and military support. Launch their troops and weapons on military bases and spread their ideology, giving economic support, military support to the their friendly countries. So this is about the military alliances. So next class we will learn about arms and space race.